We know that everything we do has to be done with the taxpayers in mind. And so therefore we try to invest in projects and in things that will further enhance our services to the people.
And there's the response from the Shreveport Planning Commission's director, saying their spending is an investment in the community and is not excessive. Good evening. Thanks for watching KSLA News 12 at 10. I'm Dominique Ben.
And I'm Doug Warner. Excessive spending of taxpayer money or long-term city investment. Those are the two labels being put on tens of thousands of dollars the Shreveport Caddo Parish Metropolitan Planning Commission spent on their office and travel over the last few years.
Our own Nick Lawton crunched the numbers and shows you what was spent in this KSLA News 12 investigation.
Last December, Mark Sweeney, the executive director of the Shreveport Caddo Parish Metropolitan Planning Commission, took no questions from reporters as he left a city council meeting. Back then, the council voted to cut 30% of the MPC's budget, then overturned that vote 45 minutes later after 4 reconsiderations. Sweeney said that cut would have forced him to fire 9 of his 20 employees who work to plan the physical development of Shreveport.
And I didn't believe it. And I still don't believe it. We haven't experienced any growth as to speak of in the city. And so where is he getting all this work that he claims he'd have to lay people off? It's just nonsense.
District D Councilman James Fleury spearheaded the $575,000 cut to the MPC because the city funds more than 60% of the MPC's $1.6 million budget, and he's concerned with the way they spend taxpayer dollars.
Here we are in the city and cannot give our people raises, and yet we see MPC, the sky's the limit. The board, to me, is not watching out to where the funds are.
The same concern is shared by Bossier City citizen John Settle. He's currently suing Sweeney and the MPC after filing a public records request for their spending on their office over the last 3 years.
Expenses for office furniture, fixtures, equipment, and remodeling, painting, etc.
Sweeney's response showed nearly $3,000 were spent, but Settle then contacted Shreveport City Attorney William Bradford.
He said that answer wasn't correct when I sent the same public records request to Mr. Sweeney and said, Mr. Sweeney, you're not being truthful with me. I want the full documentation. Then he sends me over $80,000 worth of expenses.
This difference between the two requests is the reason Settle is taking Sweeney and the MPC to court.
I want a judicial ruling that the MPC, without good cause, violated the Public Records Act. Mr. Sweeney's going to have to explain in court the difference between $3,000 and then, when he was pressed hard, $80,000.
We cross-referenced our own public records request with Settle's and discovered similar findings. More than $85,000 spent on office equipment and supplies by the MPC from 2014 to 2016. After 2 weeks of attempts, MPC Director Mark Sweeney agreed to interview with us and give us a tour inside the MPC office so we could take a look for ourselves. While Sweeney says he can't comment on Settle's lawsuit,
I would challenge you to walk through my office today and see if you see $80,000 worth of new furniture. You won't find it.
That's what we did. According to Sweeney and to invoices we acquired, their biggest expenditures were for new computers, projectors, and other equipment.
We had stuff that was broken and was falling apart, and we came in and gradually made those improvements. The screen that you have behind you is something we use. We work with developers to help explain the process they need to go through.
While Sweeney argues these purchases needed to be made, invoices show the MPC also bought several chairs, some costing more than $400, some decorations worth more than $80, more than $900 in small statues and art, and an $86 half-dome mirror, among other things.
Terracotta vases, stony bowls, queen and wingback chairs, they might not see that as needed.
And most of that, which you will find, that's the smallest item on that list. That was actually just less than $2,600 across 3 fiscal budgets. We did have to add this in because we had someone that was threatening one of our employees and trailing them. And so we put that in so that we could see people coming. I've spent about $28,000 per fiscal year. That actually represents less than 2% of my budget per year. And so that is not, I would not think anyone would see that as being exceptional cost. It's an investment so that we can serve the public better.
But Settle says his lawsuit is more about transparency than spending.
When they don't comply with the Public Records Act, then you wonder what other laws they're not complying with.
We're an open book. So if somebody wants to come and look at what we got, I'll give them the same tier that I gave you.
But it's not just office spending. Council members are also concerned with what the MPC spends on travel. We filed more public records requests on the MPC's travel expenses in the last 3 years and discovered their members take multiple trips to American Planning Association conferences every year. Between 2014 to 2016, different MPC board and staff members took 8 trips to national APA conferences in San Diego, California, Atlanta, Georgia, Phoenix, Arizona, and Seattle, Washington. They also traveled to state APA conferences in Houma, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans. Over all of these trips, MPC board and staff members spent $66,287.25. Out of all of the members, records show Sweeney spent more than $3,000 in Seattle and Phoenix, and more than $1,000 in Houma and Baton Rouge. He was the second highest spender of all the traveling members, totaling more than $10,000.
Yourself spend more than $10,000. What's all that money going to?
If it's to those trips, it was the national conference and the state conference. Airline tickets, it's hotel stay, it's expenditures for eating out, as well as for car rentals in some cases. The basics of what is allowed through the finance department. When I work with the city finance department, there's only certain things we can spend money on. We adhere to that just like a city employee would do. We adhere to those same principles.
Sweeney says these APA conferences provide required training hours for their board and staff members.
The American Institute of Certified Planning designation. And in order to maintain that certification, you have to get credit hours. And the best way to get those credit hours is to go to the state and the national conference.
But conferences are not the only way planners can be trained. We reached out to Joanne Poirier, the director of the APA's North Louisiana section, who gave us this statement. Quote, "You are not required to attend conferences. However, we are required to maintain our certification. We have to acquire 32 credits over a 2-year period. There are other seminars and webinars available." End quote.
Can we not do more of those as opposed to?
And we do try to do that because you got to understand that not everybody gets to get all their credits through the national conference. Sometimes the state APA conference will offer something that's not during the state conference that we can get credits for, but it's not on a regular basis, and we don't always have access to it, and 99% of the time it's in the southern part of the state, which defeats the cause of, okay, well, then why don't we just go to the state conference?
For comparison, we also requested the Bossier City MPC's travel expenses. When the Shreveport Caddo Parish MPC spent more than $66,000 on travel in 3 years, the Bossier City Parish MPC budgeted $21,000. That's 3 times less.
Go over and count the number of staff members they have. I think they only have 2 or 3. I have 20. I cover a much more dense population.
Sweeney claims every dollar spent is an investment back into the community, but Fleury says he'll fight to change Shreveport's contribution to the MPC.
Too many streets that need potholes need fixed, and we hadn't given our people a raise since '07, and that's got to be addressed.
You could always save money by standing still, but then you're standing still. You have to always look at all of this as an investment. Our goal here at the MPC is to improve the quality of life of this city and this parish and to enhance its economic development opportunities.
We've got to do something different, and I don't want to spend my money on the MPC.
Reporting in Shreveport, Nick Lawton, KSLA News 12.
Settle told KSLA News 12 he expects a court date with Sweeney and the MPC at some date this month. For more on the numbers we gathered on the MPC spending, including which members spent how much on these trips, you can find that information online at KSLA.com.